Hi, I'm Laura Fraser, and I play Lydia, a dark quail.
And I'm Anna Gunn, and I play Skyler White.
Bryan Cranston, Walt.
Michelle MacLaren, I'm one of the executive producers, and I directed this episode.
Hi, Vince Gilligan, executive producer.
Stu Lyons, line producer, UPM.
George Mastras, I'm the writer of the episode.
And Dave Porter, composer for the series.
Woohoo!
Hey.
I loved those masks. I really did.
Have you ever acted in a mask before, Laura?
I did mask work at drama school, but that was it. And this is the first time I got to do scene in a mask.
Ah.
Especially one that was fogging up like that, right?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Well, you know, it's an interesting thing about these masks. Half the time they're fogged up and half the time they weren't. And so our visual effects maestros had to, you don't see it here in the cut we're watching, but they had to fog up the mask using visual effects to make them all match. So sometimes they're fogged, sometimes they're not.
Yeah, we had a real problem with the masks in this scene.
It was so cold out, that's why.
Yeah, that makes sense, actually.
Where's the blue?
Is this the 6th meth lab that we built? Or meth cooking?
Where is it?
It probably is. Yeah.
I was just trying to do a count.
Number 6.
And we cannibalized, starting with the super lab, every step after that.
Huh.
That dude who looked like Wolverine, he couldn't crack 70.
And this one, of course, has the meth-making equipment that they got from Walt and Jesse, the portable meth things.
Oh, yes, there's an issue because it's not very blue. Yeah.
That's right, it's not blue. It's sort of yellowish. Sort of pus-colored, actually, it seems to be. What was it like working with these guys, Laura? Are they fun guys? Are they lovable Nazis?
Yeah, I loved those Nazis. They're good boys. Yeah, they were so sweet and just extremely gentle. And one of them, that guy, I can't remember his name, the guy beside Michael, he was...
Kevin.
Yeah, he was. His wife was about to give birth, and he was going to be the doula, you know? And he's down there being a neo-Nazi, and he was actually a doula.
he actually did, his wife did give birth during the shooting of Breaking Bad, and like any good film baby, she gave birth on a weekend.
Very considerate.
Very considerate.
Oh, I should say that a doula, like assistant midwife, that's probably not, like, unless you've just had a baby, you're probably like, what the fuck is a doula? Yeah.
A doula Nazi.
Yeah.
Abdullah Oblongata. Yeah.
Duly noted.
And there's our last meth lab.
That's right. That's right. I love this shot. This is a very nice shot, Michelle.
Thank you. Andy Vogelai shot that shot.
I love Lydia and Todd together because Todd is he's like Opie here. He's like puppy love, you know.
Yeah.
Besotted.
Yeah. How sick would you have to be to fancy Lydia? I mean, come on.
You just dissed half our crew.
Yeah, Lydia's pretty cute. She's you don't want to cross her though, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And Vince here, we should give a shout out to Steve Perry.
Yes, we've got. You guys can't hear it because we're watching an earlier cut, but in the final version, the Steve Perry song "Oh Sherry" is playing here. Todd has good taste in 80s music.
Yes,
and
adds a sweet romanticism here.
Exactly.
It does.
Wonderful.
Yeah. It really does. And then the cue after this is actually Thunder Island from the 70s.
Right.
Jay Ferguson, I believe. And now Mr. Perry is so I hear and I look forward to meeting him. I'm hopeful he's going to come to the premiere when we have it. But he's a big fan of our show, apparently.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Cool. Very cool.
That's fun.
That office behind those guys was built by Mark Freeborn and W. Gilpin and our guys. They put the set together, and the framework above, which plays heavily later, that existed, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. It existed. They built around it.
Yeah. I think they moved it. They moved it into position because we went in and placed it where we wanted it. But they created a lot of the set with existing pieces that we're already at this place.
This is a very funny moment here. I love this moment. You guys are great together. Is working with Jesse. Jesse's a good guy to work with, Laura?
Yeah,
Say something horrible.
I love doing my scenes with him. And that cup that I'm holding, it was ridiculous. These colors don't run. Cup, right?
That is. I love that cup. I'm glad you showed it off to the camera there. That was good.
Yeah.
This is an old, out of a defunct mill that made molding, wood molding, I believe is what this was, isn't it?
Yes.
Those are my lips, Lydia. Laura. Yeah, I was your lip stand-in.
Okay.
We should have played the song "Puppy Love." We should.
Now we have Thomas Dolby.
Yes.
Hello?
For whom else? But Walter White.
That's right.
Todd, I think I might have another job.
There's Thunder Island.
Just under, yeah.
And this, of course, was the message that was recorded in 512, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
the message.
No, from Walt.
So we are actually slightly back in time.
And here's Laura's mad driving skills.
Yeah, that's the first time I ever drove a Prius, and it didn't feel like anything. I didn't feel like I was driving. I'm a shit driver anyway, but I didn't even know I was driving, so it was shocking.
That one does take a little getting used to. I've got one of those. It's got to get that
So does
button.
Michelle.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love Jesse Plemons when he takes a sip out of the coffee cup at the end, so his lips are against your
Yeah.
lips, and it's great. And that was Jesse. You know, he always comes with some
Yeah, that was
wonderful,
his idea. That wasn't
yeah,
in the
it was
script,
some
right.
wonderful nuances to his character.
Yeah.
And this we shot under a really noisy bridge, so it all had to be looped. But George, you wrote this shot into the script, which I love.
Yeah.
And
It's a great shot.
yeah, it's really, really cool.
Where is that?
Albuquerque.
Thank you.
Well, that's the interstate.
That's the 40.
Yeah.
Where was it? It's down near the railroad tracks, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember what street it was on, but it was. We just loved. I love this location with all the pillars and everything, and
Sound guys loved it,
the
too.
song, yeah.
The sound guys, yeah.
Deafening.
Look at that shot.
But visually, it's beautiful. Look at that. Yeah.
That's worth looping.
Yeah.
Yeah, punk has to be safer with the marshals watching his back than out here where it's open season. What does that mean? What are you thinking?
Kid's got an idea.
What kid? That kid? Timmy Dipshit there? The one that screwed up our sting? Oh, I'm all ears.
Just hear him out, would you?
Okay, genius, what's the idea?
You guys need evidence to put him away. Only he's too smart to leave any out there, right?
So you say.
Well, I know some evidence that greedy asshole would never destroy.
Oh, I don't like that.
Aw. You don't like hearing yourself talked
No,
about
it's
in that
awful.
I know
fashion?
someone who might.
I don't think they mean you personally.
Oh, okay.
So now we get into cow brains, and these are real cow brains. And poor Aaron Paul has a gag reflex.
It was torture for Aaron, actually.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, it was really hard, and he had a hard time shooting the scene. I mean, he did a great job, obviously, but he could not help himself from gagging.
Well, now we know.
Cow brains.
Yeah.
You can torture him with
More
cow brains.
brains.
Yeah.
Where did you find cow brains, by the way? Just a super regular.
The grocery store, and then
Michelle
they
slaughtered the cow herself.
no animals or people were hurt making this episode.
No.
Actually, I'm so glad we got Dave here
They
because
coaxed the cow brains out of the cow voluntarily.
yes. It's like sheep. You just shear some of
We
the
did.
brains off.
We did wash the brains though, and that's fake blood that you see with the brains.
But Dave, you've eaten like every kind of brain of every kind of animal.
Well, now you're greatly exaggerating.
That's why he's so smart.
I have eaten some weird stuff, and I guess I have the strange.
So that gag in there. I mean, we took the sound out, but he was. He was.
But
poor
Dave's
guy.
eating monkey brains.
I have.
Just this morning, right?
No, not this morning. It's been a few years.
Monkey brains and eggs,
They're-
please.
What did
They're
it
very
taste like?
fatty, and they're sort of like greasy, fatty pasta almost.
Wow.
With that kind of texture.
Actually sounds kind of good when you put it
God,
that
I
way.
love
They're not bad. And you definitely feel smarter after.
Oh, I love it.
Sir, you got it.
Thanks.
Hugh Babineau. You know who I am?
This is our location manager's house, Christian's house.
That's right.
We took everything out.
Sparsely
gutted it.
We don't pay him enough.
And the wonderful Lavelle Crawford.
Yeah, this is a fun scene. I love the lighting in this beautiful lighting.
Michael Slovis.
Yeah, really is beautiful lighting. All he really does for somebody is it's simple because he's great, but he's also fast. He just pumps in a bunch of light through that window there, right? And then
and that's it. We pay him too much.
I think
there's more to it than that. I don't mean that anyone can do it.
Anybody can do it.
I just mean that it's usually a fairly simple setup, except that you got to put it in just the right place. I think that's the key.
Yes, exactly. And he knows where to put it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, this is. I actually love shooting in this house because you have light sources from the window and the door that you saw, and then also there's a door behind Lavelle, and we put the couch there so that we did have a light source. Because Michael really likes people to be backlit, and you could see the door behind him, so they were able to put some lights coming from there as well. And we try to look out for those things when we're scouting. Michael has trained us very well.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And so when I saw this location, I thought, oh well, this could work nicely because you've got 3 people, and we've actually got we could have used this as a light source as well, but I want the camera to get back
beautiful
away.
lighting. And Michael's trained us very well indeed, so that when we're outdoors, we're on a scout. We say, oh, we're looking north. We can't look this way.
Although he'll be the first person to say that it's okay to look north if we have to for this particular location, because it's the best thing. Or
otherwise, he wants it backlit.
He wants it backlit, yeah. And it's best. I mean, it's when we design sets, we always think of we work with the production designer where we're going to block the actors, where we want to put a bed or a desk or something, and then we want to put a window behind it so that they're backlit.
But I also think this is where the show differentiates, because half the faces are in shadow. They would never let you do that on a regular network show. They'd want to see both eyes all the time.
That's true.
Why can't we see half of Dean's face? Well, because this is really telling the story.
Yeah. Good point.
That's why it looks cinematic.
And also it's Dean.
Well, that's not his better half.
He only has a half face. We shoot him very carefully.
It's kind.
He's like Phantom of the Opera. You don't want to see what's under the mask.
Now, this is a big scene for Lavelle, and Lavelle's a stand-up, but this was probably one of his biggest dialogue scenes that he's played.
For sure.
Isn't it? Yeah.
Was this a fun one to write, George?
Yeah, it was a blast. Yeah, LaBelle's dialogue here, the repartee between him and Dean, and you have Dean is just witty and kind of outsmarting LaBelle and making him believe he can't really leave this place, even though he's not really arrested and he could just walk out there, but he's just making LaBelle believe that he's in fear of his life. And we see Dean kind of being a smart detective here, and not like your typical kind of threaten someone. He just outsmarts them. So.
Yeah, and that's a good point, George, because it was a fine line with Dean and how he played it, because we know as the audience that he's bullshitting Lavelle, but he's got to play it in a way that he sells it to the character and that he's being sincere.
Yeah. This is, I love your line. Everyone loved your line. He'll say, "You ain't been talking to people in the know." That's a great line. I love that.
Agent Gomez and I are going to do everything we can.
I like it when he gets to the door and he goes, as long as it takes to keep you safe.
That's a great. Look at the silhouette there. I love that. That's a beautiful shot. That's like you were saying, Stu. It's just we are blessed to not be pressured by the folks we work for, the studio, the network, to see everybody's face at every moment. That's kind of an edict very often in a lot of television shows, a lot of studios and networks. But it's like, that's a beautiful shot.
It is.
Yeah.
How long you gonna be?
As long as it takes to keep you safe.
I love the way Dean does that.
Yeah.
That's great.
Now, all three of those guys are great in that scene.
Yeah, they did a really good job. Oh, we're back at the compound.
Compound at night.
Was this
This was day for night.
That was day for night.
Yeah, it was magic hour. That's the rare occasion when we do shoot magic hour. We do it day for night, so we don't have to bring in the huge, gigantic lights that it takes to light up such a big place.
Right.
And so we shoot it right at dusk, and then in post they make it look more like night.
Gotcha.
So there was actually no exterior lighting, I don't think, other than just the set dressing lighting and the headlights.
It was like a 15-minute window that you had to get that shot.
So
it was really rushed.
Yeah. So what happens is you drop whatever scene you're shooting. I think we were shooting something inside the meth lab, and you get the camera set up at a certain time, and everybody goes running out, and you shoot it, and then you go back to what you were doing before.
Interesting.
Once you lose the light.
So
this is another set on our soundstage.
Yeah.
It's not out at that location.
Right. This is ostensibly the interior of the clubhouse there, but really, yeah, like you said, on the soundstage, designed and built. Yeah.
So why? I think the people would like to know why we wouldn't find a practical location as opposed to building something.
Yeah, good question.
Well, there were a lot of requirements for this, Michelle.
Well, no, I was just going to say that sometimes it's most of the time it's just practicality. If a set's too small, because we want to fly walls, we want to move walls out so we can put cameras and lights in, and it's more efficient to shoot. This is a fairly big set, and you could actually shoot something like this on location potentially. However, what's coming up in the future is why we built it, and we knew from the writers.
That's a
and
big
Vince,
point.
you probably want to talk to that.
Well, just I got to imagine if you're listening to this, you've already watched all 8 episodes, and so the big
spoiler, turn it off.
I think they have. I got to imagine they have, and of course, this place gets shot to ribbons coming up. But so that's one reason.
Ribbons everywhere.
Ribbons everywhere.
and pretty bows and ribbons.
So in actual fact, though, we had to preset for that episode before we shot this episode because it affected the look of both the interior and the exterior of the clubhouse. So Vince, you had to answer a lot of questions about how you were going to shoot.
Yeah.
516
before I'd written the damn script.
Before you written the script for 513, because we changed both the exterior and the interior. I mean, especially the walls, because the walls all had to be plugged with hits and everything. So it was a lot of pre-planning to go into a location like this.
Every single bullet hit requires a separate charge. Every charge is linked to a wire. Every wire goes to a control board. So it took weeks to set that up.
It was a big deal.
It was a very big deal.
Big deal. Yeah. Michael Bowen's great. You guys are great together. You guys are great. Yeah.
Yeah, he's wonderful.
He's great.
Yeah, isn't he great? He's such a pleasure to work with. All these guys, all Jack's guys, just they're such a joy to work with, and they had such fun. They really bonded, the whole Nazi team. And here we have Ian.
Yay!
Brock.
Ian and Emily.
Yeah. That's when I pay a little visit to them.
That's
don't I?
right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so fond of them. I was driving in the neighborhood, and I just wanted to stop by.
You're a nice guy.
You get one of the best stink eyes ever coming up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's true.
We never know whether Brock
really
knows or not. But it's great the way little Ian just gives you this look, and you just don't know. Does he recognize this guy? Does he know he's a bad guy?
He doesn't trust him. We know that.
Yeah.
Something wrong with this guy.
We call him the strange juice man. He's giving him a juice box.
Here's
or
your juice
something.
box.
Brock's the one person that knows there's something not right with Walter White. It's Brock. They just listen to the kid.
Hey, Fruit Loops.
I don't trust you.
No, you ad-libbed that Fruit Loops line, didn't you? Was it in the script, the Fruit Loops line, George?
Was that in the script?
We scripted it, yeah.
Oh, you did? I
okay.
apologize. It's great.
Yeah,
It's great. Well,
lo and behold, we got clearance for Fruit Loops, which was nice.
That's great.
And George got a big truckload of them.
That's all he did it for.
Your delivery
A lifetime supply of Fruit Loops.
Fruit Loops. That's right.
I can't find him anywhere.
Emily's very sweet. That was good to see her.
I love working with Emily. She's wonderful.
She's very sweet.
She's a sweetheart.
That was, I don't know, 2 weeks ago maybe.
This is a practical location too.
It's a real house, yeah.
A real house, and and to continue what we were talking about, we probably knew we weren't going to be shooting inside this house very often,
Right.
So it made more financial sense to just find something that would work.
Unless you're going back to a location at least 3 times, it just...
And that could mean 3 days. So
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be three different episodes. But this location was a challenge to shoot in. It's a great location because it's got some depth, but it's pretty small. So we were, for lighting and get the cameras and everything, we're all squished into this small space
Well,
here.
again, I think we were shooting night for day here because we have the shades drawn. I think by that time we.
That's a good point and that's a good way to tell if you're wondering at home, whether on this show or any other show or movie. If you can see out the windows and you see life out there, you see cars going by, it's a real place. If you see But here you'd say, well, maybe they built this place because we can't see out the windows. But that just means, like you said, we shot it at night and pump light in.
So the first thing we shot, I think, Michelle, was at the door.
I think you're right, and well, or in the street when the scene outside. And I think what in this case too, what we'll sometimes do is we know that we'll have light for only half the scene, so we'll go ahead and even though it's still light out, we'll draw the shades in anticipation that we're going to lose the light at some point, and that's definitely what happened here. And the scene, because the scene comes up after this, is what I think we shot first.
And Mr. Porter, you got a nice cue coming up here. Is it the first one?
Yeah, it is in this particular episode. And we actually went back and forth a few times about whether you wanted any music. I eventually sold you on it.
Yes.
But it was tricky because Walt's state of mind is, as always, complex.
Yeah. Well, talk about that, speaking of which. I mean, because when you say, and it is often the case where we ask ourselves, do we really want music here? And very often you ask yourself that question as well.
Sure, yeah.
What do you think makes the difference, puts it over the top, when as far as when you need music versus when you don't?
Well, actually, I think this is an example of an instance where I actually don't know until I try it. And sometimes I find something that works that I think helps the story, and other times everything about what we're seeing is already so clear and wonderfully done that it doesn't need any help.
Right.
Dave, you're one of the first people to say, well, you are the first person to say if you think you don't need a cue somewhere. I mean, I know you tease when you say, I finally sold this on you, because I've heard you many times say, no, don't put music here.
Yeah.
Or
which I love.
Yeah.
I love that you are not, the episode always with you comes first. And there are times when you work with a composer, never you, but there are situations on some shows or movies where the composer is just sort of wanting to put music wall to wall, and you never are that way.
Oh, born lazy.
No, I don't think it's laziness. I think it's good taste is what it is.
So when it's used, it's so powerful.
Exactly.
That's the hope.
I guess huge impact.
It's like printing too many dollar bills. The more dollar bills you print, the less each one is worth. But
Yeah, if there's too much music, you just end up tuning it out eventually and not noticing it. So
that's a good point. Yeah.
Back to the whole location stage thing. This is an example completely opposite to what we've been discussing. We've never built the interior of this house except for a bedroom, a partial bedroom on stage, because this house is actually very practical to shoot in.
Yeah.
It's so big and has so many windows, and except for when we have to day for night, which we can do quite easily.
Fred and June, the homeowners, also are wonderful, wonderful, wonderful people, and that you really gotta factor that in as well. If the homeowners are very good folks and a pleasure to work with, and they enjoy your company, in other words, they enjoy having you around, the crew around, then that is priceless. Wouldn't you say, Stu?
Absolutely. And we were there for over a 5-year period.
Yeah.
It's just remarkable that everybody stayed so positive and cooperative, and they were just lovely, lovely people.
Yeah, they were part of the family.
Yeah, they came to rap parties. It's just terrific.
Yeah.
Fred and June are great, great folks. Love them.
And this year we built, for the last 2 seasons, we actually built a bigger part of the set on stage.
There's Merritt, too.
And there's Merritt, yes.
Merritt.
That's Anna's stand-in.
And it's stand-in for the last 2 years.
And we built this set on location. I got that backwards. We built this piece on location. And so we used location a little bit more this year, so we had more depth than we did in past seasons on our stage.
Right. You can tell that this one's got the depth. The other episodes where you don't see down in that direction is when we're using our stage version of this.
And this is a whole plug, because when you look at this end of the hall, it's not the same.
As in the real place. Right.
Yeah.
But you can get a Breaking Bad hat.
Can you?
At the car wash now.
Oh, you can?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I put them in contact with Sony Merchandising.
Oh, that's
cool.
nice.
Makes sense.
That's cool. I love
Part
the
of
way
the tour.
And I love the way you play this.
and I love
the way RJ plays it. Oh, this is great.
It's turned into a bad day at the car wash.
He's so goofy.
RJ plays it great too.
He's so excited to meet a celebrity.
Yeah.
That's fun.
I like your commercial. What happened to your face?
This is, guess you call it an occupational hazard.
Okay, so thank you, and please give that to your car wash professional.
Very good. Thank you very much. Good to meet you.
It's great what you do at the end of the scene here, Anna. You put a nice button on it.
Oh yeah, you button it great here.
I think we mentioned the makeup and the bruising and the timing that the makeup people know how bruises heal, and they follow that.
A lot of work.
And that's a real sign.
That is, it almost reads in this day and age of visual effects being seamless. It almost reads like it was digitally put in there. But that is a real billboard that was up there for many months. Is that?
Well, no, we would take it up and down when we shot it there because it's very expensive to keep an ad up on a billboard. So it was a lot cheaper for us to put it up and down.
Gotcha.
We would sometimes, I think there was one episode we were able to leave it up for 2 episodes because they were shooting back to back.
Gotcha. And you can call that phone number on it. It's a real working phone number.
Bob Odenkirk answers
It goes straight to his house.
Waiting for the spinoff.
We have him locked in a small room.
We can get 50 more phone calls. We can do that show.
That's right.
That's great.
Bob's got this really overly padded bulletproof vest underneath his clothing, which we did exaggerate for the fun of it.
It was hard making that work because the real ones are actually pretty svelte.
Yeah. And we looked at those first and you couldn't tell. But what we did do is that in the previous scene when he comes in and he's talking to Skyler, we actually took the amount of padding down. So you weren't alerted to it until we went outside. So there's a little bit if you look closely, but it's not as severe.
I remember all the discussions of that damn thing. It's amazing how much talking. Bryan, you're saying in our 510 commentary how much discussions there are about every detail and the making. Endless. Yeah, it's true.
The 7 days of prep that a director has for an 8-day shoot is filled with meetings and conversations, and it's just. And you know what? I'm so glad they are.
Oh yeah, and absolutely.
Because you have so little time to shoot it, you've got to be prepared.
The better, the more work you do during the prep days, the smoother the shoot days will go.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Endless minutia.
That bastard.
And here we go.
Jesse.
So now we've got another cue coming in, Dave.
Oh, great cue.
Well, this whole scene is unbelievable. When we looked at this sequence in the sound and music spouting session, Nick Forshager, our amazing sound supervisor, and I looked at each other and just winced because we knew there were battles afoot here.
This was cool. I wasn't around for this.
I was driving. I was in the car that was following this. It was really fun, really scary. Just me and the camera guy. It was exciting. This was an incredibly challenging scene to shoot because we had, George, 4 pages of dialogue, 5 pages of dialogue.
All driving dialogue.
All driving through the city to the desert. So we shot it green screen. And
so all this stuff is on a soundstage.
Right. So all this stuff in the car is on a soundstage, and then we had to go out separately and shoot plates, and then we had to shoot all the exterior car drive-bys, and then all had to be married together by our wonderful visual effects people, Bill Pulowski and
his crew. So when you say plates, you mean you went out and shot in a real car the stuff going by in the background from various angles.
You measure out. You know what you measure the height of where the cameras should be on the car, and then you go out and you shoot plates where at this matching the height, and you have to drive the drive. We picked parts of the city that we drove through, and then we came out to the desert and we drove on the highway, and then we drove out into Tajali where we're coming up to. It's incredibly time consuming to put this.
It was 4
together.
separate days, I think. Michelle?
I think it was 1 day for the green screen and 1 day for the half a day for the bridge. It was 2.5 days, and 1 day for the desert driving.
You had to erase in that shot there with a black car going underneath the camera. You had to erase a car pacing it, going right alongside of it.
Well, because we stole this. The stuff on the highway when we saw those trucks, we had to steal that. So our stunt driver was driving on a functioning highway, which we weren't controlling. So he had to drive the speed limit. And those semi-trucks all speed, and so they kept passing our car. And we had cops with us, and we were thinking, oh my gosh, do they always speed like this? And they said, yeah, they do. And we finally got a shot that looks like he's passing them.
Yeah, but it's amazing. There was a car, and the last time I saw this, there's a car right alongside him, and the visual effects guys erased the car like it was never there. Great shots with this little GoPro camera too, where the camera
the
goes.
new GoPro, yeah,
that
it's
tiny
great.
little thing, yeah. It integrates in well with the 35mm motion picture film, which most of this is shot with.
This shot was shot at night.
Came out
practically,
good, though.
but it came out okay. This is 2 seconds later. It was night.
But then you digitally dimmed down the headlights so it didn't look like it was at night, and then boosted, brought up the lighting and the color timing session.
And Andy was our DP that day.
I send some love to all of our sound guys for this whole sequence. It was quite a challenge, but amazingly done to get the music and all the car and sound effects and all that dialogue to be clearly heard. And powerful and impactful as it was.
They did
really
an
amazing job.
Yeah.
We actually, as we record this last night until like 9 or 10 o'clock last night, we were doing the final. Our sound guys were doing the final fixes on this mix. This was quite a Megillah of a mix. Yeah. It's a big episode.
This is the spot you shot the pilot at, right, Vince?
Yeah, that's right. Same spot. Same spot where the Walt and Jesse first cook meth.
Yeah, we didn't discuss it when we did 510, but when we picked this place for him to bury the money, we went and looked at a lot of different places, and we realized it being where the pilot was the best place.
Yeah. We looked at a lot of places out there, and we found some absolutely gorgeous spots within a mile of this spot. But this spot really did, for access for the vehicles, all the trucks and whatnot for the production, and just for everything.
Visually,
everything, yeah.
And then you
I've been had.
You've been had.
First time.
How is it running around? Is it harder because it's a mile up, 6,000 feet up or whatever? When you're running around, do you get winded more easily?
Not for a trained athlete such as myself. There's cow houses.
That's right. That's the hill, yeah. That's where Jesse, in other words, for the folks listening, that's where Jesse was standing in the pilot where he says, ain't nothing out here but cow houses.
Just a few cows and some cow houses.
You did a lot of running this day.
Yeah.
Michelle, you did a lot of running that day.
That's right. Always.
Oh, boy. The chickens come home to roost.
And George, you were out there for all the shooting, is that correct?
Yeah.
You guys, we do a wonderful thing on Breaking Bad, as do many shows, but it's really nice that the writer, producers come out and they're with us the whole time we're shooting the show. So we have a partner in crime to help and
tell the truth, though. Is that really a pain in the ass? Or you're just
yes, but I love you guys.
Why is this guy? Guys always wander around with a sandwich telling me what I'm doing wrong. Then he wanders off again.
No, it's always wonderful having another set of eyes. It really is. Don't you think, Bryan?
It's for us being able to act and direct, to be able to have someone representing the story from its genesis is always incredibly important.
Yeah.
As well as the connection to future stories. I mean.
Yeah. Yeah. Good point.
Because this is all one story, and so if you only know that episode, you don't know, where we're going.
Stu, that's a really good point, because Bryan, if you remember, and George, you had a really good idea, interesting idea for something in this episode that you wanted to do, and George, you were able to say, "Ooh, we can't do that because it might be happening in a future episode."
What was that?
It was going to be when you brought up the gun. You were going to have a beat where maybe you were going to suggest that you might shoot them and do suicide by cop. And at the end of the episode, the series had not been figured out yet. And George, you guys had some discussions.
It was something that was being bantered around in the room at that point. So I was worried that if we're going to do that, we better at least get it both ways in case something came up. Yeah.
Right.
So.
And that's a good example of, because we're not in the room of knowing where it's going.
But in order for Michelle to direct this, she and Vince had a great moment during the scout where Vince laid out the rest of the show and reenacted it
While we were standing here in the
While we were
desert.
standing here, and none of us knew how this sequence was going to end in another episode, and Vince did 30 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
It was just wonderful.
I'm glad it worked. And at that point, I was pitching everything we knew, but there was still plenty we didn't know.
Right,
but,
there was some finished, yeah.
But hopefully it was helpful.
So, for example, we had to know exactly where those cars were going to be because that crossed into another episode.
Yeah, it crossed into the next episode. And so you're right, Stu, we had to know, we talked a lot about the layout of the cars in this episode because of what's coming up. And this was logistically very challenging because this is a huge area. It's a huge space.
And it really is in the middle of, it's not nowhere. But it is. It's just way out of town.
About 30 miles west of downtown Albuquerque or so.
Yeah.
On the Navajo reservation.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Which the reservation was wonderful to us.
They're great folks.
Really supportive and
a guy named Tom, who was the liaison out there, was really helpful.
And we changed the act out here, Bryan.
Yeah, the original act out took it all the way through to you having the handcuffs put on you.
Look at that's great.
This is wonderful, and nothing but Hank in the distance.
And there's a great cue in here, Dave, that we didn't hear just now, which I love.
Yeah, cue that took us almost to the end of the act there.
Yeah.
Great. And that first shot you just saw with the prickly cacti, that's the very first shot, the actual very first shot of the pilot episode that we figured we'd revisit there. Just that one shot.
And Bryan, we talked a lot about this moment is
Come on out, Walt.
Walt's. What is the word? I think you used impotent. I mean, it's like the first time where he's...
Well, he's now faced with the idea that the only way out is to kill his brother-in-law.
Which probably would not be that easy either.
No.
Yeah.
The attempt to, anyway.
Yeah, he could attempt to.
And he can't cross that line. He's still holding on to that sense of family
and the sense of betrayal.
And betrayal from Jesse's his point of view of Jesse.
Yeah. Although this scene to me reads like I'm thinking a lot of folks watching this are wondering what's his plan here. He's always got a plan. Mm-hmm. I know he's got a plan.
But he's actually out of ideas. Right?
Yeah, he really is.
For the first time.
Yeah, for the first time ever.
But that moment when before he came out from behind the rock that we ended on that last scene, I love that you're feeling all the emotions of the sense of betrayal and the sense of I'm done.
Yeah.
It's over.
You can see that all over your face.
That's a great shot. A lot of great shots out here. Really great compositions.
It's a beautiful place to shoot, that's for sure.
And I love the way you play this, Bryan. It's just you see, like these guys are saying, you see so much in your face there. I always say the actors on our show, their faces are transparent, and it's so much fun to cut dialogue that we wrote. Oddly enough, for a writer, it's fun to cut dialogue when you realize you don't need it because everything's being said almost telepathically.
And you do a great transition here, Bryan, where you go from betrayal and loss and everything to anger.
Walk backwards to me.
Anger at Jesse.
You were very upset, Michelle, because you felt you had forgotten to get a shot out here. But the truth is, what was it over Walt to Jesse?
It was, yeah. I mean, we shot this. The sequence was so huge, and you're running around, and you try to remember everything. And I was worried that we didn't have. I would have liked to have had a tie-in shot over Jesse to Walt coming up. Actually,
over Jesse to Walt. Okay.
Yeah, over Jesse to Walt, which we have. I didn't have a tighter one, and I wanted a tighter tie-in. And
you didn't need it though. I mean,
we were able to cut around it thanks to the wonderful Kelly Dixon, who did a great job. Cutting this.
Great job cutting it.
But we like most directors, and maybe I do a little bit more than most directors. You beat yourself. You sit in the editing room. You have to relive everything that you didn't get, all the mistakes you made, and.
The reason I brought it up because I thought because this shot here, I love the way you do this. You hear the word Walt says coward, and then the way it plays, it's almost like is he talking to Hank, and then you do this wonderful pan over to Jesse past Hank. That thing I think works beautifully, and you realize he's talking to the kid.
Isn't it?
Hey, let's say you save us the busy work, Walt. Point out the spot where you buried your money.
I love the low angle stuff too.
No?
We were fighting the sun.
No matter.
Always.
Yeah.
I got a search team out here. We'll find
This is a challenge because if you look at the sky, this whole sequence was shot over 4 days, and the sky keeps changing. Now, hopefully everybody's watching the performances and the action and everything, but we go from blue sky to completely socked-in sky to white fluffy cloud sky.
And our shadows change, of course, as the...
And this is essentially in a valley.
Yeah.
Yes,
You're bordered by mountains on both sides.
You're right.
So it's even less time to shoot because the sun goes behind the mountain. That's it.
Yeah, those big buttes. Yeah, that goes down at least an hour earlier or more.
Yes.
Yeah.
So she had even less time to do this.
Yeah, you're right.
This is also 70 degrees warmer than the nighttime shot that we did.
Yeah.
And Bryan, this is, I mean, for Walt, he's always had a plan. He's always been the guy that's been a step ahead. You guys haven't seen this yet, have you?
No, I haven't seen it.
So do you guys? I mean, not even joking or anything, but you guys got to talk that through. Was there talk about how do you spit in another guy's face? I mean, because he really did it. That was not some digital effect.
We did. I actually went to Bryan ahead of time, a week or two ahead of time. I said, "Do you mind if Aaron spits in your face?" And you said to me, "Well, no, because it's Aaron. I'm okay." But we put something in Aaron's mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was somebody else's
His
spit.
own snot. Yeah. And a BB in the middle of it. No, and the other thing was that we had to talk to a lot, and we had to discuss there was the physical altercation afterward, me being handcuffed and forcing him back against the truck, and very easily you can get hurt on these things.
Sure.
And so we discussed that a lot.
We actually rehearsed that a little bit on stage, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was helpful. And we also had, Bryan had handcuffs that were magnetic, and they could easily pop open if he needed his hands. So when he was doing that physical work, he wasn't necessarily in a dangerous position of being locked into place all the time.
That's a smart way to do it. Hey, wouldn't it be if you're like a big star and you're like, okay, the other guy's got to spit in my face, I'm going to give him a cup of my own spit for him to spit into my face?
Well, I don't.
Because you're more comfortable with your own spit.
Maybe.
All right. Well,
Sure. Let's go with that.
There's a little shout out to the French Connection there.
Yeah.
Right, George?
I sometimes freeze my own spit in case, you never know what you're going to need in the future.
It's written into your contract.
Yeah. I just wanted to also mention our stunt coordinator, Al Goto, was involved in that. So everything is detailed and worked out so that if we got hurt, it could shut down production. We can't get hurt. So it looks dangerous, but it's actually very controlled.
Yeah.
It is. And Al and Lawrence Chavez both, work very closely with us to work all that stuff out ahead of time. It's really nice, and it helps me to work it out ahead of time for blocking, and again where the cars are going to be positioned and that kind of thing. And Dave, this is one of my favorite cues.
Yeah, this is my favorite cue of the episode.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's really great.
Uh-oh. That's not good.
No.
I told them not to come. You guys don't remember that?
How long did it take to shoot the shootout coming up here?
The shootout itself, I think, was way less time than it took everything leading up to the shootout, believe it or not. The shootout was shot in one day, and then except for there was pieces shot on one of the other days, like the inside of the car, and I don't remember how we broke it down, George. Does that sound right?
Yeah, it seemed like it was, I don't know, the better part of a day. I mean, the problem with the shootout was that every time you explode the squibs and everything, it takes so long to reset. And the actual barrage is so quick.
Yeah. So we had to. I mean, when the guns start firing, we had 7-8 cameras rolling at once between our little IMOs and our film cameras and our DSLRs, because we only had 2 vehicles that we could shoot up. We only had a certain number of windows and headlights that we could replace. So everything has to be planned out ahead of time. You have to let the special effects department know where every shot is going to hit. You need to know all your camera angles. You need to know what windows are going to be shot, what headlights are going to be shot, what places on the hood. Also for the safety of the actors and the timing, and so they know when to duck if they need to duck. And this is a perfect example where everything has to be prepped ahead of time. And our special effects guys, Werner and his team, they pre-plan all the hits into the vehicles, and then they give me a piece of paper with numbers, and you can actually talk about which numbers you want to go off at any certain time. And we shot a fair amount of this at speed, so that we had slow-mo, and we wanted to mix up the mediums here and really create the feeling of
like
tension.
Slow-mo, like these
Right.
shots are slow-mo. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Kelly did a fantastic job with putting this together. All these guys were firing guns. They all went to a firing range ahead of time with Al or Lawrence, one of the guys, and learned how to fire these guns, because Vince, you picked, and George, you guys picked these really diverse set of guns that were not easy guns to necessarily deal with.
Yeah.
That's Matt, who's ex-military.
Yeah, he's firing the BAR, which was Clyde Barrow's gun of choice, Bonnie and Clyde. And this AA-12 that Kevin has, this automatic shotgun, this thing is just fucking
nasty.
scary.
It was really, I mean, being in Dean and Steve's position when this was going on, they're shooting full loads and obviously blanks, but just being downrange of it, it was so overwhelming for them that all that firing at once, it was deafening, and it really played into the whole feeling of reality, because it really, to them, it really felt like they were getting shot
And
at.
we had dust hits in the ground around them, and they were so gutsy. I mean, it was everything was going off all around them, and they did a fantastic job.
Nothing like
with
a
that.
shootout.
That's true. I gotta say though, if you haven't seen the next episode, don't worry, it's all gonna end just fine.
It's fine.
Rainbows and unicorns.
They're really terrible shots.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.